wonderful people. Trying to get everything all situated and set up in here. Good morning, everybody. I know you guys, come on. I wasn't, I guess, completely ready. I probably shouldn't have it live, but I did. So I'll just wait while you guys come on. Okay, let's see here. We also learned yesterday that that all of my I've got like, my brain is slow this morning. Comments are really lagging behind. They're super lagging behind. So as you come in, I'm sure you're commenting by now, but leave me a comment and I'll see it in 5 minutes, okay? How's everybody doing? I am praying yesterday. I literally prayed yesterday that it would be sunny because it's been so yucky here in Dallas. And it was sunny all day. It was like the most beautiful day ever. So I'm really praying again that it is super sunshiny today because it was such a beautiful day. I hope you guys are having like, nice springy days wherever you are living as well. Let's see, you guys commenting? I know that you are. Let me see if I can move this. Let's see. Come on, Jesus. Come on, Jesus. I need some comments. Okay. Now what are we doing here? Oh, I can't see anything. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okie doke. Well, now I just messed everything up. So let's see. Hold on. Oh, okay. Well, all right. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Hello. I'm going to make a comment myself. We'll see if that comes through. How about that? Okay. As we're waiting on those comments, oh my goodness. Tammy, you're the first one that I saw. Tammy, thank you, Jesus. We got some comments. Okay. Perfect. Good morning. Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning. Good morning, Krista. Good morning. Oh, there's mine. It says hi. Good morning, Regina. Good morning. Okay. Perfection. Awesome. Okay. So we're continuing in the vein of Easter. Okay. I love just looking critically at the story of Easter, but it's like you can't teach just the story of Easter on a week that you do Easter, because you need to like give all the setup, and so many things happen before the resurrection that are so important, like the crucifixion. That would be a big one. That you can't just say, you can. I want to talk about a lot of different aspects of it. And you guys, I have something today that I want you guys just to sort of chew on. The crucifix, okay, so we have the Last Supper, okay, which is done the week before. Then we go into Holy Week, which we will experience next week. And we have the Passover Meal. Right after the Passover Meal, Jesus goes with his disciples to the Garden of Gethsemane. He then is immediately taken before Caiaphas, before Pilate, before the Sanhedrin, before Herod. And Pilate, then he goes back to Pilate, and Pilate eventually calls for his crucifixion. He goes to the cross. He dies on the cross on Friday. And there is, 3 days, of course, before he resurrects. So much happened in that week. And I want to focus on one portion of the story. So yesterday we talked about Gethsemane. So in Gethsemane, and I wanted to talk about Peter really, really bad denying Christ, but I decided not to do that because I want to talk about this, and we have stuff to talk about in the next couple days. Everything in this story is symbolic. We can read the pages of this Holy Week, but know that you're not just reading a story, you are literally reading of the foretelling of things that are to come. You're reading, there are so many little hidden masterpieces and miracles in this story, and we're going to talk about a couple of them today. The first one I want to talk about, there's two different things, and it's from the same scene that we see in the story of before Jesus' resurrection, the first time he's before Pilate, okay? And then the second time as well. What I want to say about Pilate is this. This would have some practical application for you guys. Pilate, when Jesus went before Pilate, and it says, I have read all four Gospels, the accounts of Pilate. You should read them as well. Okay, there's four of them. Sometimes for whatever reason, the personalities of the authors or whatever, some of the authors will omit certain stories. Pilate was in all four stories. Okay, so all of the disciples knew what was happening to Jesus. They knew where he was. They were kind of looking from afar because they all left him once he got arrested. But they're looking from afar. Everybody knew what happened to Jesus. You can imagine if Jesus opened his mouth when he was before Pilate or Herod or any of those people, word would spread like wildfire. This is what he said. This is what he said. Like, this is like the situation of the century. Okay, this is like a really, really big deal. So all four Gospels talk about Pilate. I want to talk about Pilate in this regard. Pilate knew Jesus was innocent. If you read all four excerpts about Pilate tried so hard to get rid of Jesus. He did not want that responsibility. He wanted someone else to make that decision. He called for the Jewish leaders to make the decision. He called for Herod to make the decision. He knew that Jesus was innocent of what they were telling him he was guilty of. He knew it. He knew it. Not only did he know it, his wife knew it, okay? Now, just for time's sake, I don't have time to read all of it, but I want to make a point about how Pilate makes decisions and how we do not need to make decisions. This is a very big deal. I'm going to read from John. John has, I like Luke's account better than John's account, but I'm going to read from John because there's more dialogue between Pilate and Jesus in John's account. Luke's account makes my point better, but John's account, there's just more dialogue. We hear what Jesus was thinking, okay? Don't log off. This is so incredibly amazing, okay? So Jesus goes before Pilate. This is John. You guys always help me with I always forget to tell you where I'm reading from. John 18:28. That's where I'm going to start reading, okay? And this should change your life. What I'm about to tell you should challenge you. It should change your literal life. You should think before you make any sort of decision moving forward. They led Jesus from Caiaphas into the praetorium, and it was early. It was very early. Remember, it was late when they were in the Garden of Gethsemane. So now he's arrested. He's seen the Jewish leaders, and now he's going before Pilate. And they themselves did not enter the praetorium so that they would not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. Therefore Pilate came out to meet them and said, Sorry, my nose is itching. What accusation do you bring against this man? They answered him and said, if this man were not an evildoer, we would not have brought him to you. Basically already saying, this dude, you don't even have to know what he did. You should trust what we're telling you about what he did. Okay. They answered him and said, if this man were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him to you. So Pilate said to them, take him yourselves and judge him according to your law. The Jews said to him, we are not permitted to put anyone to death, to fulfill the word of Jesus, which he spoke, signifying by what kind of death he was about to die. Listen to Pilate. Therefore, Pilate entered again into the praetorium. So there's the first time. He's saying, you deal with him yourself. I don't want to have any part in this. You go, you judge according to your laws. I don't want any part of this. Go. And they said, oh, well, we can't. We can't do it. So he entered again into the praetorium and summoned Jesus and said to him, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered, are you saying this on your own initiative? Now listen, in the praetorium, are you saying this on your own initiative, or did others tell you about me? This is Jesus talking. Pilate answered, I'm not a Jew, am I? Your own nation and chief priests delivered you to me. What have you done? So he's asking Jesus, what have you done? Jesus answered, this is the most dialogue you're going to get in any of the Gospels for Jesus answering Pilate. My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then my servants would be fighting so that I would not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not of this realm. Therefore, Pilate said to him, so, are you a king? Jesus answered, yes. You say correctly that I am a king, for this I have been born. For this I have been born. For this I have been born. And for this I have come into the world to testify the truth. Everyone who is of truth hears my voice. Hang with me, this is so good. Pilate said to him, what is truth? And when he said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, I find no guilt in him. But you have a custom that I release someone for you at the Passover. Do you wish that I release for you the king of the Jews? And they cried out again, saying, not this man, but Barabbas. Now, Barabbas was a robber. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So here we have an interchange between Pontius Pilate and Jesus. In the other Gospels, it says that Jesus said nothing. He was silent. And then when he was asked, are you the king of the Jews? He says, it is as you say. So there's very short answers. But here we have a little bit more dialogue of what Jesus actually said. The point I want to make is Jesus and Pilate had a conversation. It was not just Pilate. Pilate listened to what the Jews were saying, but then he said, you know what? I'm going to take this a little bit further. I'm going to talk to Jesus himself, and I'm going to ask him some of these charges that were brought up against him. Jesus really confirmed everything that the Jews were saying. he just said, yes, I am, and it is as you say. So he really confirmed everything. But still, Pilate said, I don't find this guy guilty. He eventually sends him to Herod. Herod finds no guilt in him either. Herod finds no guilt in him either. He comes back to Pilate, and then the crowd goes crazy. Now, on Sunday, we're going to celebrate Palm Sunday, when the crowd was so excited about Jesus with the palms and all that kind of stuff. And 1 week later, the crowd had turned on Jesus. Pilate's wife said, don't have anything to do with this. I've had a dream. Don't have anything to do with this guy. I've had a dream. Pilate knew himself. Something was telling him that Jesus was innocent. Something was telling his wife that Jesus was innocent. He knew. He eventually washed his hands and said, I don't want anything to do with this. Okay, I'm going to hand him over to you, and you guys can crucify him. But the crowd was so loud, and it influenced Pilate's decision. It was so loud. It said everything contrary to Pilate's good judgment. Now, could Pilate have changed Jesus's purpose? No, he couldn't have. But the point I want to make to you is he made a terrible, horrible, bad decision, knowing what the right one was, because he listened to the crowd. He literally, in his power, and there's an interchange between Pilate and Jesus, and Pilate says, don't you know I have the power to put you to death? And Jesus' response is pretty amazing. He says, you have no power unless that which my Father gives you. Pilate listened to the crowd. They got loud. They got harsh. They started saying, you're no friend to Caesar. They started hitting him where it hurts. They got loud. And so Pilate completely flip-flopped his own, what his own conscience was telling him. He flip-flopped because of the crowd, and he gave them Barabbas, and they took Jesus. Today, are we not facing things that are the same, just like Pilate? Pilate made one of the worst decisions ever, and he probably regretted it for the rest of his life. One of the worst, especially after the resurrection 3 days later. Could you imagine what Pilate was thinking when they're like, we can't find Jesus. We have no idea where Jesus went. He resurrected, just as he said. He probably regretted it the rest of his life. It was probably that one decision that was like, if I just would have been stronger, if I just would have been more courageous, if I just would have this, if I just would have stood my ground, if I just wouldn't have listened to the crowd, I wouldn't be in this situation. If I just would have this, that, and the other, if I just would have listened to my wife, I wouldn't be in this situation. If I just would have, oh my goodness, I wouldn't be such an embarrassment to even my own self, and I wouldn't feel guilty. If he wouldn't have listened to the crowd that is loud and was convincing, he wouldn't have regretted that decision his whole life. So my point to you is this: don't make any decision the way Pilate made this one. It was undoubtedly, even more than getting married or any of that, the biggest decision that he ever made ever. Now, God had a plan, and God used Pilate to fulfill that plan. But I'm telling you what, the way he made the decision is what I'm focusing on today. We can make a decision and call 472 of our friends, our mama, our aunt, our kids, our school teacher, our counselor, our this, our pastor, our whatever, our small group leader, our children's whatever. And they can all say the same thing. But if God has told you something, this is the direction. Listen to the voice of the Lord. Listen to it, and do not listen to that crowd. Follow what God is placing in your heart via your conscience and the Spirit. We make decisions on the contrary because we are pressured. It is such a farce that kids are the only people that deal with peer pressure today. Oh my goodness. You can't post this, you can't say that, you can't whatever, you gotta watch this, you gotta watch that. Why? All because we're pressured to do one thing or another. Whatever our friend group is into, we must be into, or we will be chastised. It is the same exact thing that our kids deal with at school. Pilate was dealing with peer pressure at a huge degree. It is the same thing. It is a farce to think that our kids are the only ones that deal with this stuff. My kids come home and they're like, so-and-so was pressuring me to do this. And I'm like, yeah, that's basically humanity. It's not just kids, okay? And the problem is this: we are more likely to go with what the crowd thinks because we want to be liked, rather than to listen to what our gut is telling us, the Spirit of God is telling us, and stand on that alone. Pilate would have had to stand alone. He would have had to stand alone. He would have had to have the courage really supernatural courage. He would have had to stand alone. He would have had to stand by himself. But he didn't want to. He wanted the support of the fickle crowd. He wanted the support, the superficial support of the fickle crowd. And that's what made his decision for him. Not even his wife could sway that. So I'm asking you today, as you live your life, the things that you stand on, the morals that you stand on, you stand on biblical principles, you will stand alone in some circles. Even in the church, you'll stand alone. I've been asked some really crazy questions today just about all sorts of just the way people live nowadays and how we've gotten away from the Word of God and away from the principles of God and things like that. And as for me and my house, I lived the way of the world for a very long time, and it did me nothing but got me divorced at a very young age. It was humiliating, and I had to pay for the consequences of my decision by going with the grain of the crowd and not with what God was telling me to do. I've lived that way. I know it doesn't work. So I ask you today, how do you make your decisions? Are you a Pilate or not? Are you a Pilate or not? Because that's a big deal. The second point of this whole message that I want to talk to you guys about today, and I would have maybe made this 2 days, but I do want to bring this up, is that they wanted Pilate, it was custom that he released a prisoner, okay? It's very interesting. It was custom that Pilate, for Passover, would release to them a prisoner. The prisoner that they wanted released, hang with me, this is so good. The prisoner that they wanted released, his name was Barabbas. So they were yelling, "Release to us Barabbas, release to us Barabbas, release to us Barabbas, release to us Barabbas." But Barabbas was not a nice person. He was like a bad dude. Like you can read about him all you want. But the thing that once I learned it, the thing that I could not get out of my head is the name Barabbas means son of Abba. So they're saying, release the prisoner Barabbas. And what they're also saying is, release the son of Abba. Release the son of the Father. Abba means father, or Abba means daddy. Release the son of the Father. Release the son. So they're saying, release, bring the prisoners forward. The prisoner forward, bring Barabbas to us. What did I tell you on Monday? Why did Jesus come? What did he read in Luke chapter 4 from Isaiah 61? I have come to set the prisoners free. Right here, we have a picture of Jesus taken into custody and Pilate releasing Barabbas, whose name means the son of the Father, or the son of the teacher. It means both things in Aramaic. The visual picture of what that means blows my mind. Jesus took the place of the Son of the Father. I told you when we started today, everything means something. I mean, you read through Moses parting the Red Sea, everything means something. You read through Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, everything means something. I know because I studied it for 3 years. You read through Abraham and Isaac, everything means something. Jesus was giving them a picture of what he was getting ready to do for them on the cross a short while later. He was going to not just take Barabbas' place, the son of the Father, which is what his name means. He was going to take their place as well. What are we called in Scripture? Children of God. The absolute genius of God on how the story was written and how he shows even people present day that were yelling, "Release to us Barabbas." Jesus had said in Luke chapter 4, "I have come to set the captives free, to set the prisoners free." And here we see him doing it with one man, Barabbas, but he will eventually do it for all men hours later. The amount of the depth of the story cannot be overstated. Jesus took Barabbas' place, and we'll talk about tomorrow, but Jesus also took your place and my place. And today, as you go into your day, as you go into things that, whatever, no doubt you'll have 50, 100 decisions to make. No doubt you'll come up against obstacles like Pilate did, where the crowd is telling you one thing and maybe and you know what God wants you to do. I want you to think about how precious our Jesus is, that he took your place and my place and Barabbas' place. I want you to make your decisions based on his goodness, based on his provision, based on his love, and not based on any other thing. Don't make decisions like Pilate did. The worst decision he ever made, and yet it accomplished the plan of God. I hope this encouraged you today. I really love this. I really love looking into the scriptures and finding something that I've not ever heard before. I've never heard preached before. I really, really love that. That's something that God has really given me a passion for. So I hope this educated you. I hope you found it helpful. I hope that when you hear the story of Barabbas talked about in a week or so, I hope you'll remember what his name means: son of Abba, son of the Father. That changes everything. There was such a physical representation of Jesus taking someone's place even before the cross. It is unbelievable what the Lord is trying to tell us through his word. It's unbelievable. So I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day. I will be right back here tomorrow, and we'll continue on with Easter week. Thank you.